Hello friends, and welcome to a special discussion video. Now for anyone who doesn't know, I'm making this video as a follow-up to my most recent Majoras Mask Randomizer. If you haven't watched it yet, I won't spoil how the game ended, but at the end of the video I made mention of an experiment I wanted to try out that would involve input from anyone who's interested. And if you all think the idea is fun, I might extend this idea to other games on this channel in the future as well. But I won't get ahead of myself here, because today's topic is about randomizers and how you can help. Now, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that I love randomizers. Randomizers take what we already know about a game and twists it on its head to create a fresh way to replay a game over and over. And because of the random nature of this type of challenge, the game will always play out differently, even though the core game is exactly the same as we already know it. But one of the best aspects of randomizers is how customizable you can make the challenge. There are hundreds of ways that anyone can customize the items that are randomized to create an entirely unpredictable adventure, and I absolutely love it. Using The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time as an example, I could do a seed where the main goal is to acquire the 6 medallions in order to access the end of the game. Then I could do another where I have to find the 3 spiritual stones to access the end of the game. And then I could do another entirely different seed where I don't have to find any stones or medallions and instead just focus on finding the items needed to beat Ganon's boss fight. And on top of that, each of those seeds will have different item placements, meaning that I would have to take a completely different route through each game. Randomizers have so many options to customize the game to each person's individual liking that they are infinitely replayable. And there are so many new ideas that I would love to try. So many, in fact, that I don't know where to start. Yes, this is a classic case of having too many ideas but not being able to pick one and play it. I mean, I could just keep using the same rule sets that I have been using for the past randomizers. I'm certain that even if I kept using the same rules over and over again, that we could still keep having fun no matter how many randomizers I do of these games. But sometimes it's fun to try something a little more challenging and see just how much fun I'd have playing with new rules. And maybe, if I get comfortable enough with some of the new rules, I could even start incorporating them into my regular rule sets. So this is where my experiment comes in. If I can't decide what rules I'd like to play with, I'm gonna let my audience decide. Yes, that's right. For the next randomizer runs of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, I'm gonna let you decide what new twist, or maybe even twists, will get added into the runs. So I'm gonna let you know right now that my next randomizer run is going to be a regular run of Ocarina of Time, which will then be followed by another run of Majora's Mask sometime after that. I say regular run for Ocarina of Time because there is the Triforce Hunt format that I played on this channel recently, and I want to keep that as its own thing. When the next Ocarina of Time randomizer finishes, I will ask you all at the end of the finale video of that series what you would like to see in a future Ocarina of Time Triforce Hunt randomizer. I'll be doing the same thing with the next Majora's Mask randomizer as well, whenever that gets finished. But I'm gathering ideas now because I want to start doing them at the end of videos for their respective series. But I didn't think to do this for Ocarina of Time until after I finished Majora's Mask. So this is going to be a 2-for-1 randomizer special. Here's how this thing is going to work. Starting with Ocarina of Time, I'm going to show you all what I normally randomize in the game. And then I'm going to show you some of the ideas that I would like to try on my next run. I'll do the same thing for Majora's Mask after that. Then it'll be your job to pick the option, or options, that you would like to see and leave a comment down below. Whichever options are the most popular will be the options that I pick for the next runs of these games. And just as a quick disclaimer, I am not saying that whichever options don't get picked will be discarded forever. All of the options I present to you will be things that I want to try in the future. All you'll be doing is telling me which things you want to see first, and then when that run is done, we will revisit the selection process again, and you can tell me what you would want to see me do for the next one. Okay, with that disclaimer out of the way, let me show you what I randomize in Ocarina of Time. So on screen right now is everything that I normally randomize or change when I play Ocarina of Time Randomizer. My main goal is to find the 6 medallions located at the end of the dungeons in order to access the final Ganon fight. I used to play it where Ganon's boss key was shuffled into the pool of items, but when I started playing with Ganon's castle open by default, I needed the key to be placed elsewhere while still making the castle available. So I placed it on the light arrow cutscene in the Temple of Time when I go there with all 6 medallions, which I find thematically appropriate. Ganon's tower also needs a random number of trials to be finished in order to open the central tower. Speaking of things open by default, in addition to Ganon's tower, I also have Kokiri Forest and the Door of Time open by default. These are pretty standard, as it allows for more of the world to be open at the beginning and for more things to be done out of order. If the door wasn't open, that means all items and spiritual stones needed to open the door of time would be locked in the child timeline, and that doesn't seem like a lot of fun for a randomizer, does it? Most other locations are locked in their default state, which also includes Gerudo Fortress and needing all 4 keys to unlock the 4 carpenters. As far as items go, most of the standard items that you can obtain are in the item pool, but this also includes Bomb Shoes, the Kokiri Sword, the 2 Ocarinas, the Weird Egg, the Gerudo Card, and the Magic Beans. Most players like to have these items located where they are accessed normally, but I like the added randomness that occurs by placing these items in the pool. In addition to those items, songs are also placed in the item pool. Most players play it where the songs are located only where other songs are, but I like the thought of opening up a random chest and finding the Ocarina songs just like any other item. And all the dungeon navigating items, such as maps, compasses, small keys, and boss keys are located in the item pool as well, so they can be anywhere in the world. For efficiency, most players usually play with all these items located in their respective dungeons, but I like the fun of key hunting. And the compasses do serve an additional use for telling me what stone or medallion that respective dungeon has when I collect them. Dungeon maps also have an additional function, but that's only when playing the Master Quest dungeons, more on that in a bit, so I include these items in the pool. And to give a little extra power to rupees, I also play it where the shops in the game have items from the pool. Regular shops have 4 items from the pool in stock with random prices. All Deku Scrub shops have an item from the pool listed at 10 rupees, and the Carpet Salesman and Medigoron have an item from the pool listed at 200 rupees. Now this is something that I started doing only after my last Triforce Hunt randomizer, but I've been playing these seeds where they are considered beatable only. This means that the randomizer will make it so that I can acquire all of the items that I will need to beat the game, but all other items can be located anywhere, including areas that might lock it out of being acquired. For example, if a song such as the Nocturne of Shadow is located in the Shadow Temple, which is required to actually get to the temple, then that means I wouldn't be able to access the Shadow Temple at all. But that also means that any item that is located within the Shadow Temple would not be required to beat the game. This is an added layer of logic that I've come to enjoy when playing these randomizers. Now, as far as Gossip Stones go, I play it where I'm able to read the hints they provide with the Stone of Agony. Most people play it where hints are readable by default, but I wanted to give some use to the Stone of Agony since it would be useless otherwise. And the hints are made to be strong and clear hints, meaning that I will be able to immediately tell what most hints will be saying, as opposed to using vague language, and the hints will be geared mostly towards important locations. As far as time saves go, I skip the Child Stealth in Hyrule Castle, the Tower Escape in Ganon's Tower, Epona's Race, and some phases of minigames. I also reduce the number of cuckoos and big Poes I need to collect down to 1, because those do take up a lot of time, especially the big Poes. I also skip the long chest opening cutscene because I want the surprise of knowing that I got an important item to come from the reveal, not the cutscene. And as far as the adult trading quest goes, I only have the claim check in the pool. And for increased difficulty, I have the damage multiplier set to double damage, and the item pool will have an increased number of ice traps, which is also known as Ice Trap Mayhem. This way I will have to be on my toes at all times, especially in the early game, as risk of death is greatly increased. And that covers every major thing that I randomize when I play Ocarina of Time. All of the other things I randomize are just cosmetic and really have no bearing on the randomizer itself. For the rest of this video, and including the separate list for Majora's Mask later, I'm going to be referring to these as my original rule sets. But now let me tell you about some of the ideas that I have for other Ocarina of Time randomizers. And these are the 4 ideas that are on the top of my list. The first idea is changing up the requirements to acquire the Ganon's Tower boss key. Ordinarily, it's the 6 medallions that need to be collected, but what if that was changed? What if, instead, I was trying to collect the 3 spiritual stones? It would definitely change up the dynamic of the randomizer, since I would be looking for fewer items to get to the end of the game. I wouldn't have to complete as many dungeons, since there would only be 3 required stones as opposed to 6 required medallions. My next idea is often referred to as token sanity, or taking the 100 Gold Skulltula tokens that are normally located on the Gold Skulltulas and shuffling those into the item pool. By doing this, I can now find tokens in chests and important items on Gold Skulltulas. In simple terms, I add another 100 possible item locations to the item pool, but the importance of certain items change drastically by doing this. My third idea is the dungeon entrance shuffle. This means that entering a dungeon entrance on the overworld would likely send you to a different dungeon altogether. Imagine entering Dodongo's cavern only to end up in the water temple. Makes no sense in theory, but that's what makes it all the more fun. And I would have to keep in mind what dungeons are located where, so I would know what is truly required to beat them. And lastly, there is the option to turn on Master Quest dungeons. Now, I know most of the original Zelda dungeons by heart, but the number of times I've played Master Quest dungeons in this game can be counted on one hand. If I turned this on, I would have a much more difficult adventure ahead, because the possibility of missing items in these dungeons becomes much higher than before. And as an added twist, while I can't decide which dungeons specifically turn into Master Quest dungeons, there is an option to turn a random number of dungeons into their Master Quest counterparts. And these are the options that I've considered for the next Ocarina of Time randomizer. Let me know what you think you'd want me to try down in the comments below. And yes, if you do want me to play the original rules, that is an option too. You can select that. Okay, now that I've got the Ocarina of Time list out of the way, let's take a look at Majora's Mask. Just like with Ocarina of Time, I use a similar mindset with the item randomization in Majora's Mask. Most regular items and masks get randomized, and the songs are also put into the item pool instead of being located behind other song locations. Small keys and boss keys are also located in the item pool, and items that are part of a progressive chain of items, such as swords and quivers, are set to work in their intended order. Now, the item randomization pool for items in Majora's Mask has been made quite immense. I could even randomize what drops from random jars in the overworld, or even from soft soil when I drop bugs into them. But that is way too much for me right now. Eventually I'll feel crazy enough for a randomizer seed where I do those things, but for now, most rewards will come from their expected places. Chests, shops, rewards, and some freestanding items that were already important. Basically what you'd expect to get randomized. And as you might recall, I have the Fierce Deities mask set so that I can wear it anywhere. This is just to give it some added utility, since it would only be used as a quick boss killer if it was set to its normal parameters. The damage modifier is set to double damage, and the ice traps are set to a regular amount, mostly due to the potential of wearing the Zora mask and getting an automatic blackout should I be wearing it. Just don't want to be suffering too many room retries. Gossip Stone hints are said to be readable once the Mask of Truth is obtained, and the hints will clearly tell me what the items are as opposed to using vague language. And the bank and lab fish are sped up so that I need less of the items needed to get their full rewards. I'm sure people can live through watching me feed 6 fish to the lab tank fish, but I'm certain that no one wants to watch me try and collect 5,000 rupees to try and get one item. Right? And that is every major thing that I have set in this randomizer. Most other things, such as updated overworld models that show what the items are, and the Elegy of Emptiness speed-ups, are just there for comfort and serve no bearing on the difficulty of the randomizer. Now, given the nature of the game, it's not as easy to randomize things as it would be with Ocarina of Time, but there are still some neat ideas I have in mind that I want to tell you about. The first is Dungeon Entrance Shuffle. While there may only be 4 dungeons in the game, 5 if you count the underside of Stone Tower, the fact that a large majority of items are needed to enter and complete dungeons means that I could be geared up to beat Woodfall, only to discover that it is the entrance to Great Bay Temple, which needs a vastly different item set to complete. This would definitely keep me on my toes. Next is the shuffling of Skulltula tokens and stray fairies into the item pool. In this game, there are 60 total Skulltula tokens, 30 each in the Swamp and Ocean Spider houses, and 61 different stray fairies, 15 in each temple and 1 being in Clocktown. Shuffling those into the pool would add another 121 items to look for. Now you might be thinking, wait, don't those items get reset after you reset time? And normally, you'd be right. But the randomizer actually makes collecting the tokens and fairies permanent, so I wouldn't have to keep looking for them every cycle. I would just have to collect them throughout the adventure, and if I collected all of them, I could just go to the respective reward location and collect the reward at any time, which is quite handy. And because the tokens and fairies are shuffled, it means the spider houses and dungeons now have many more things to check in them, so that would add a lot of chaos to the fun. The next idea is modifying what Link actually starts with. In Majora's Mask Randomizer, Link is programmed to start with the Kokiri Sword, the Hero's Shield, the Deku Mask, and the Song of Healing, as if the player had just finished the first cycle with Majora. Link is also set to begin with 2 heart containers to give him 3 hearts, and these can be modified. Now, I already have the Deku Mask and the Song of Healing shuffled into the pool, but the Sword, Shield, and 2 hearts can also be added to the item pool, meaning Link could literally start with 1 heart to his name and nothing else, except for the Ocarina and Song of Time, but those are required, so we'll just ignore those. I'll refer to this as no starting items. Or, if I wanted to be really crazy, I could have it set where Link starts with 6 completely random items right off the bat. I'll refer to that as crazy starting items. And finally, I will now talk about ways the time mechanic can be modified. Now, you all know of the clock that's at the bottom of the screen, right? Well, what do you think about the clock being hidden from the user interface? That's right. Now the only way to tell what time it is would be to look at the location of the sun or find a clock and read it. And time will always be ticking. So I'll refer to this as hidden clock. Or if that's not your style, what about changing how fast the clock's natural speed is? It would be fun to watch as the clock ticks away at incredibly fast speeds, or to see how much I could get done in one cycle if the clock's speed was reduced to a fraction of what it is normally. The speeds that I can alter it to are 1/3 the normal speed, 1/2 the normal speed, double the speed, triple the speed, or an absolutely ridiculous, but certainly fun sounding, 6 times the speed of what it normally is. I'll call this clock speed change. So these are the ideas that I have for the next Majora's Mask Randomizer. So if one of these ideas sound interesting to you and you want to see me do it, leave a comment down below. And as an added bonus, as a cosmetic change, would you like to see me play as the Link model? Or would you like me to switch it up for the Cafe model? This will have no bearing on the randomizer overall, so in addition to what setting you would want me to play on, also let me know if you want me to swap Link's model in your comment down below. And that wraps up this discussion on what twists you would like to see me play next for Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask Randomizers. Now, like I said before, I will not toss out these ideas for future runs, as they are all interesting ideas to tackle down the line. But if there is something there that made you think it would be interesting to see now, let me know in the comments down below. And for future runs after this, I will be doing segments on the finale videos as opposed to making their own unique videos, so make sure you stay tuned at the end of the finales for any information on how you can lend your voice towards future content on this channel. That's all from me today, so as always, thank you very much for watching, take care, stay safe, and have a good day.